And we're back. Sorry, this is gonna be a long one. This is what happens when you wait. So moving forward, yeah, we see Keyshawn and Gidget promoting. Um, again, Keyshawn is escalating that whole concept of fandom because now Rome is getting her all the deals that she's ever wanted. Now she has a lashes line, lashes, and she has a wig line, and all these things are being showcased to her, but nothing has been written in stone. So, but again, providing all these flashy things for her so that she'll be more enamored, or again, we'll get into that. So she's promoting the lash line and promoting the next gig on the Dirty Dozen tour, and you could see that they're all kind of getting along, but we're also introduced to what happened that summer with the whole BLM protests and George Floyd. Even though he's not mentioned directly, but it's pretty indirect and direct of what happened, and then the outcry and the anger that rushed out, especially towards law enforcement, but not law enforcement per se. It's just the excessive power that is always pressed upon people of color, especially black men. So you can see that Teak, who's been incarcerated for how long and perhaps has seen the worst of the worst, has been put in solitary confinement. He knows what that lifestyle has been, that torment has been, perhaps been met with that abuse on the inside, by correctional officers and the excess of abusive power. So seeing that now, as he has already exited, and what we were to assume he was going to try to now best relate his life now to the mundane, he's getting triggered, and you see him upset and wanting to hear what's happening, while everybody else is not that they're not phased, but they're not in that mindset. He's very much enveloped in, like, he wants to know what's happening. They're actually hearing a live feed through the radio. There's congestion because of the protests, and he's just like even more upset. Like, why isn't more people upset? Especially when it comes to Rome. Rome is very much that all I care is about my money and the Benjamins. I don't care about the politics. Like a lot, not for nothing, a lot of rappers that year were confessing to how they just, that's not of their concern. Their concern is to make money and, to pile up the stacks, but not to really involve themselves in that. It's almost like as if there was like this detachment to what was happening. Like, that affects y'all. That doesn't affect me because I'm not in that financial bracket anymore. I've worked myself out of the ghetto, so that's y'all's business, And that was kind of messed up. But that's what I think that where they were going with Rome's character. Also, we see that DJ Never Scared, who went from the little club of the Pink, is also kind of rising in power. I mean, not power, but notoriety, and for his work, and that he's working with big artists. So, which I think I forgot to mention, that there is an instant where DJ Never Scared, played by Brendan Gilpin, is working with a new artist, and it's never revealed who it is, but you can hear the vocals, in the background. And it's supposed to be, they call her here Tina Snow, but I think it's Megan Thee Stallion. Again, like, y'all, like, it's really, this show is so fresh and innovative. It really is pulling at the ratings, and these powerhouse artists, Big Frida, Megan Thee Stallion, and not to mention the soundtrack. Those instances where they're like about to finish the episode, how they've brought in Al Green music, they've brought in Temptations. Do you know how much money you got to be making to get those songs to hear in the background in your story? That's how much money this show is definitely clocking. They better get an Emmy. I'm telling you, the stories have been so incredibly well written. The storytelling for this season, I already was in love with season 1, but season 2 has really whooped season two's behind. And it's like given us such a broader picture of all these characters. So going back to yes, the Pink's woes. Now they have to fulfill the order of getting all these things and the glass partitions for everything for the city to be okay, for them to be up and running. Up until that point, they are closed. And you can see Clifford, trying her dearest to go and find it. But again, when things really were, at the height of troubles, you couldn't find anything. You couldn't even find a toothbrush. It was just, you couldn't find a can of Lysol. But again, this is the Pink. We love our Pink. Who doesn't know have connects in the Pink? So Big Al getting his buddy, which again, his name escapes me. His character name escapes me, but they call him the I guess the Pink's Eminem, and he has connects. Aside from the fact that they're doing what they're doing with the OxyContin, so they're able to get a number of workers. I believe they're all African, and they're in the back with all of this big merchandise to help them out, for heaven's sake. So they needed extra hands. Everybody pitches in. Even our, allergy girl, which is the culprit for this whole business, this whole nonsense of their shutdown. I think they call her Toy. Toy is her character. And so she's like, Uncle Clifford's like, what are you doing here? Unless you have money or you have something to provide, I don't want to see you behind. And she's like, well, look, I've brought you the whole crew. We're here to set up. So they're fixing things to help out. But Mercedes was part of that group chat, but she's otherwise occupied. She got a text from what she thought it was the coach. And again, every time she has a rendezvous with him, she's paid at least 40 G's. So, the girl is worth the Mercedes experience. She's called that for a reason. But she's met with his wife there. And she's like, oh, sorry to interrupt. I'm just here for my photography. She is a photographer. And a lot of the apartment / hotel is adorned with all of her portraits. She has an incredible eye. But she was very captivated by Mercedes. And can you blame her? The way that this actress is filmed while she's really on the pole. Like, she's shown herself on Instagram how she works hard at her core stomach muscles to really do those particular scenes. That is not a stunt double. So Brandy Evans is her real name, but she plays Mercedes. And what she doesn't do on this show. And so she's very attractive. They have this private poll, and she was mesmerized, even from the way, not even physically by Mercedes, but just how she complimented her work. And even one picture in particular that was of the coach was of saying, wow, never seen that angle of being shot of a man. We always are meant to look up at them, but never down, and still captivate the softness and also the importance and power of him being a man. And I think that in itself just wrapped her up, that she was very much into her. So this text led to a private sesh between them both, and they really go at it with each other. So moving forward, we also discover that Miss Haley has ulterior motives, and starts talking to her fake Obama, like Clifford says. And he's like, I can't believe you, because she was kind of in the corners secretly conversing with Andrew about her future plans for the Pink, and that if the casino comes with the right number, she will sell. And Clifford is just taken aback, man, like, what is wrong with you? Here I thought I could trust you. You're still gonna have to deal with this club until we're good and ready to go, because you don't know what this means. This building has a lot of history, and not to mention all these girls work here. And she's like, y'all gonna have to find something to do. Like, she's so detached about everything, knowing that she had gone through her own drama and that these people really are the closest to family that she has. But again, the woman is about her money. So it's kind of disheartening to see, because just when you think they're getting along, something happens. Also, we don't know what's still looming in the club. There are moments where we get inklings that there's still a ghost lingering, because remember, watch season 1, you'll see what I'm talking about. And then now Diamond also has come back. Now we know that Diamond now is a shaman and knows how to put roots and knows how to do all these, spiritual rituals and whatnot. And he himself is like fierce. Now he's a very buff guy who looks very confident, but also understands how maybe the spiritual world works, where he's even looks like he's a little freaked out about what's lingering there. But we still haven't seen that, like what could be lurking in the shadows. But we also see that the new girl, Big Bone, who's our bartender, wants to be a stripper, but doesn't have the moves, but does have a big old booty. Very much interested in Diamond, very much goes for what she wants. Lets it be known that she's very attracted to him, and even offers a rendezvous, a roll in the hay with him. And I think he's like, yep. Even though there's still something there with also Miss Mississippi Pride, Miss Keyshawn lingering in his head. But again, we'll get into that. Now, what I'll say to finally finish this clip is towards the end of the episode. Now, I already explained before how we already had a lesbian encounter between Coach's wife and Mercedes, which is typically what we consider the norm. Fast forward, and we also see there's an inkling perhaps between Roulette and what they consider the Eminem of the club. They seem to be kind of getting better acquainted, and also because we're seeing the protests, Roulette has an honest moment of her brother's passing. So that's why they start connecting, because she even has a tattoo of him on her arm and her forearm, and how she lost him also to excessive police force. Now, we don't know what future entails for these two characters, but we see Teak is not handling well. We're going back to the grouping of the Dirty Dozen tour group or gang. And then we see that Teak is tweaking out. Really pissed. He wants to hear what's going on. Rome has had it. Rome just wants to celebrate Keyshawn's wins with the lashes, turns it off. They get into a whole big fight, something that's very traumatic and triggering for poor Keyshawn, who's already going through enough with the whole domestic violence in her home, and it set her off, and she got upset, nervous. Also, and it was over because Gidget, who's her best friend, but Gidget's she's white. She doesn't understand how this can affect the whole community, how the protests are a reaction. It's not because now they purposely want to attack their community. It's just out of rage and anger of how this continuously happens. I mean, for heaven's sake, we just went through recent news of what had happened over 60 years ago with Emmett Till, and I'm sure before Emmett Till, and obviously way after Emmett Till, we still, and I really suggest for my viewers, please Google that name, what that poor boy went through, what that poor family went through, and we're still seeing repercussions and still seeing things that are reminiscent of that hopefully, again, there's a whole article that came out recently because of that particular case, and how some people should be tried and should be arrested for their past crimes, no matter how old you get. But again, I'll link that in the description box below. But so that's very triggering for Teak. And he goes through some kind of like emotional roller coaster where now he seeks murder, little murder for solace. And we see that, yes, these two were coupling before. And they have the most of intimate scenes. Now, the reason why I bring it up, because it was such a taboo thing that you can stomach Mercedes and Coach's wife having a romp, but you can't stomach two men that typically look, very like not the traditional, what is considered quote unquote traditional, femme looking males, but very brolic looking dudes, getting hot and heavy. And not for nothing, it wasn't just like, yeah, let's go at it. It was very intimate. It was lustful, passionate, but there were moments of intimacy, and how people dissected it but made it into a dirty thing, I don't understand. Because if it was a heterosexual coupling having this type of sex, I don't think it would have been criticized. But yes, this is, and I'll link this article in the description box below with by Complex. As you can, it made big news because Little Duval, which I think he's an actor and comedian, and I think he was on Blackish. I'm not 100% sure. I remember that he had a song, not too long ago about "I'm living my best life." That song, that artist. It says Little Duval gets called out for homophobic remarks about P-Valley and show's co-executive producer Patrick Ian Polk. He made some quip on Twitter saying that there needs to be some kind of like advisory, like how there's advisory for lights and advisory for extreme violence, that there needs to be an advisory for supposed explicit male sex that he's not used to. It's just something that he's not used to. But I guess he's used to two women getting along, because that's what you see. And it's really relatively explicit. If anything, that's more lustful than it was intimate. The gay scene between, the sex scene between Teague and Little Murder was very, in fact, it was like very loving. Because there's an instant actually also when Teague kisses like a portion, and you can see that they care for each other. They're kissing necks and kissing torsos. It's not just like, let's go at the sex and whatever. But again, I believe even the writer for this particular episode also said that's something that you need to kind of work within yourself, because the gay ain't going nowhere. And I don't, you know what? I don't blame him for saying that. Even the actor who plays Little Murder, Alphonse, I think is his name. He's a straight man and is married. J. Alphonse Nicholson is a straight man, has a child, and is recently married. And so being straight, he's playing this gay character. But he says he's proud of the work because people forget acting does not relate to the person. They're just the vessel to relate the story to an audience. And he did a phenomenal job of doing that. And that he said that he felt proud of the work because those people are the people that don't rarely, if ever, get seen. And that story and those characters are for that particular audience. So it wasn't necessarily for you. And if you didn't like it, you don't have to watch it. I don't understand why people... Again, this is what I love about the story, about the overall story about this show, because people assume, you made an assumption that this show was going to just be TNA. All you wanted to see was asses and titties shaking, and weren't really here for the story. Excuse me. And there's so much more to this show than just that. You really have to sit and watch. These are stories that relate to people of color, particularly black people, who haven't seen these stories be mainstream. We've seen inklings of it and thrown ever so often in a movie and mostly in reality TV, but reality TV isn't really going to get those big numbers or get seen by an academy or be recognized by, like say the Emmys or a Golden Globe. But a story of this caliber on cable that's really well written needs all the love and all the flowers. It deserves all the flowers that it should get. It's really well done. So for this person to come out of their face, sorry, for you to be criticizing, then don't watch it. And not for nothing, people also went for him because it's like, oh, it's not something that I'm used to. Did you not see season 1? There was a lot of gay sex in season 1 too, so you didn't know what you were kind of signing up for? Hello. So anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But I thought that the intimacy between both men was genuinely beautiful, and also how they dealt with their own demons. They're dealing with, as black men, what's happening in reality, in real life at that time, and still to this day. And this was a way of them finding a safe space with each other and comforting each other. How many couplings have we seen? Like, for heaven's sakes, right? What is it called? Monsters Ball with Haley? Oh, no, what's her name? Halle Berry. I forget his name. Yeah, I was right. Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton. Okay, do you remember that love scene that they found kind of comfort with each other? And it was a